This next chapter now we want to talk about rising and lowering. Lowering is necessary to create swing. As in all dances we have different forms of swing. We might use it in a different way, but we have to understand the action. Movement is kinetic energy. We produce static energy, release the static energy, and it becomes kinetic energy. Now, how do we produce static energy? Static energy is produced by the compression of our body weight. And for that, we need the extra help of our shin bone. We change the angle from the shin bone to the foot in that direction. So we would move here forward with our shin bone without changing the angle of our thigh bone, because that is still vertical, supporting our torso. If we would simply bend our knees, what would happen is that we would drop our pelvis position. Actually, before, in chapter 1, we talked about the muscular chain which supports our pelvis. Unfortunately, that muscular chain does only work up to a certain degree of bending the knee. In other words, when I bend my knee further than my kneecap over my big toe, this muscular chain is interrupted and automatically my hips will drop. So from here now you would have the thigh in a diagonal position, not being able to support the torso. It would affect my thigh muscles, who would be overworked, and it would be very dangerous actually even for the health of your knees. So what we have to do, I'll show it again from here, the shin bone moves towards the big toe, changes therefore the angle from the shin bone to the foot, and that creates a lot of static energy. If that is being released, I start moving. In order to be able to produce swing in a high quality, we have to understand that very clear. Another point is we have to understand that our legs work basically on 3 different levels. If I compare my legs to a visit in a hotel, my basic position is long legs, not straight knees, but long legs under the body, hip in the right position. Now that would be level 0, which is about reception area in a hotel. I can go -1, which meant the change of angle in the shin bone. That would be the parking garage. My bedroom is on the 1st floor. In order to reach the 1st floor, I first have to pass reception level before I can go to 1st floor. So there is no such a position as knees in parking level, feet on bedroom level. So bent knees and toes are never, ever together. This is important as a basic foundation to understand all the coming procedures for producing the right swings, the right rise and fall for the individual dances. We have in general, from an elevated position, a 2-phase lowering. First of all, we bring down the heels to the floor, and then we press the shin bone, which is phase 2. That applies to all lowering actions, but 2 exceptions. The first exception will be the whisk, because in the whisk, in the position we are, our thighs are too close together. If we would lower on the spot, we would have no space for our legs, so the heel lowers while we are already on our way out. Let's see how William and Alessandra do the whisk. So the heel is lowering while they are moving out. That creates the correct space. Thank you. The other exception to the rule is coming from a chassé to a quick open reverse turn, which we need in quick step and we need in waltz. Now when we would come from the chassé, we're having next an outside step, which is a non-progressive step. So from the chassé we would only lead down the heel. From there we have an outside step, which is non-progressive, on a normal level 0 leg, and at the end of that step we have that extra pressure from the shin bone downward to create the actual swing for the quick open reverse. Again, let's see William and Alessandra performing a chassé and a quick open reverse, the second exception to the lowering process. So here's the heel lowered, outside step on level 0, extra lowering, and there was the correct swinging action for the quick open reverse. We have three different forms of rising. One is called the swing rise, one is the pressure rise, one is the body rise. The swing rise is the rising that occurs over a certain series of steps produced by the form of swing we have. Let's go into the natural turn in the waltz. In the book, it reads, commence to rise at the end of 1, continue to rise on 2 and 3, and lower at the end of 3. Now, it would be very helpful if people know what is the end of 1. As the book is described in steps, the end of 1 is the completion of the first step. That means we have step 1 completed when the left foot is next to the right foot. From this point, we commence to rise. Now, that means, after the technique we explained before, the first action I have to get back to level 0 before I can actually rise further. So on my way to step 2, I go out of the bent knee. So that would be roundabout step 2. From here, I continue the rising from the flat toe up to complete toes of both feet, and I lower the heels at the end of the third step, not at the end of the third beat. That gives us the pendulum swing action. 1 and 2 and 3 and. As a couple, it looks like this. William and Alessandra show you the natural turn of the waltz. Thank you. When we come to the foxtrot, the rising is totally different. In the foxtrot it says, rise at the end of 1, up on 2 and 3. As explained before, I can only rise from a certain position. So if I do the feather step correct, I have step 1. By the time my body weight reaches the right foot, I'm already on the normal phase level, 0 level. From here, I can rise. That is what happens at the end of 1. I go slow and up on 2 and 3, lower at the end of the third step. So if a dancer would be still in a bent knee, then the action technically would read, commence to rise. In foxtrot, that is not the case. So one more time, that is already on a long leg, I rise and I'm up. Let's see how that looks when William and Alessandra do it, the feather step. One very popular step combines swing rise and pressure rise, the progressive chassé from promenade. Can I borrow you? So what we do is, we have a swing rise up to the moment where we close our feet. 1, 2, and. From here, we have a not described extra pressure rise from the closing of the foot to the non-progressive step, preparing for our next outside movement. The third form of rising is called body rise, which basically means you're not rising from your feet, but there is a rising within your body. Just have the feeling of pressing your body weight into the floor and lifting your center just like an elevator would drive up within a tall building. That is the action. Now the lady has that in the ever popular feather step and reverse turn in the foxtrot. Let's see how Alessandra is doing body rise and feather step and reverse turn. You will notice now and now. Thank you. Whenever we create a promenade position, we need body rise. Creating a promenade position from standing still, I start with pressing down And I'm creating body rise in order to produce a promenade position. Actually, there is no rising without body rise. Also in the steps that you saw before from William and Alessandra, natural turn, the hover corte, spin turn and impetus, everywhere there's also body rise included.